Hi, my name is Robin Petrie, and this is a video lesson on beginning hammer dulcimer playing. And in this lesson, I'm going to show you basic techniques, sort of a basic approach to playing the hammer dulcimer, and I'm going to teach you a few tunes. And bear in mind that at any point during this lesson, you can stop and review. So first of all, I want to talk about how to get comfortable before you start to play. This instrument can be played standing like you see here or sitting down. I prefer playing with my instrument on a standing stand because it allows me the freedom to move around and kind of bounce and tap my foot, which I do a lot because I move a lot when I play. But sitting is great too. There are sitting stands available and even poles available to screw into the bottom of your instrument. In fact, a lot of you may have the pole variety where you can just set it on your knee and play, that's really, really great for traveling and playing in parties and stuff like that because it's real portable. Anyway, the point to all of this standing or sitting is to make sure that you are at a good level over your instrument, like that you're not too close to it so that you run into it, or that you're not too far away from it so that you lean over and get a crick in your neck. So basically make sure, either standing or sitting, that you have plenty of room to move back and forth on your instrument, and just experiment with these different kinds of ways of playing and find what's comfortable for you. Looking here at my dulcimer, I would like to point out that a lot of dulcimers are really, really different from each other. They're not super standard because different makers like to build them with different amounts of strings and different notes and everything. Like some instruments, instead of having 2 strings per note like mine, will have 3 and sometimes even 4, which makes for a whole lot of tuning. So I hope for your sake you don't have too many strings. But anyway, what all these instruments that are tuned to this Western tuning do have in common is they should go from about here to here. In other words, your lowest note you should at least have a low G here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a diagram of how my instrument is set up, and you can stop the video and study it if you. Okay, looking at your diagram, you'll notice that you have 2 bridges that represent the bridges on your dulcimer. And on them you have little lines, and what those lines are representations of your courses of strings. Now, a course of strings is a set of 2, 3, or 4 strings that are all tuned to one note. On my particular dulcimer, I have 2 courses all the way from top to bottom. At any rate, you'll notice that on that left bridge, when the string comes from the right and passes over it, you're going to have a different note on either side of the bridge, and those notes are a fifth apart. Look, for instance, at D on the diagram. If you pass right across the bridge to the other side, you have A, and A and D are a fifth apart. Now that's, if you don't know what a fifth is in relationship to an octave is 8 notes in a scale starting with D. Oh, I might also want to point out, before I get going too fast here, is that certain key notes on your bridges are marked, and these are here to help you sort of know where you are, because if nothing was marked, you'd get kind of lost, I think. It's kind of like dots on the guitar neck, or on harps they have different colored strings to let you know what key you're in. Well, on the hammer dulcimer we have markings here to facilitate you in knowing exactly what key you're in. If you look at the D again, and you go up to the G, and then pass across to the left, you'll find that you have a high D, which is the fifth across from the G, and it's also an octave up from the low D. So there you have a D major scale. And you'll notice that your instrument is tuned if you just go 4 up and across, it's tuned octaves all the way up. And this is going to help you a lot in tuning. I'm going to show you a whole lot of other places where you'll find notes that are similar, but anyway, you should know that those are 5th across, the same note, and that 4 up and across is an octave. Okay, I'm going to talk about tuning now. Tuning is rather important with any instrument, but with this instrument it's completely crucial because you have so many strings that if you're out of tune, you're just going to sound ridiculous, and then you're going to get frustrated and you're going to wonder why you don't sound good. So I think the basis for good hammer dulcimer playing is being your own private piano tuner. You've got to carry around a little wrench with you. This is a standard little wrench. Sometimes people use a wrench that's curved and comes out so you have more leverage. Anyway, tuning is very important. How you use the wrench, I will demonstrate this right now on one of these bridges, is usually with my nail I strike one of the notes, and then I go over and I make sure I have the right tuning peg, the proper tuning peg, and then, now see, that sounds out. And I hardly move it at all, and I make sure it's totally in sync with the other one. Now, if you keep spinning this thing over here and nothing's happening, you probably have it on the wrong peg, and you don't want to do that because you can keep turning it and suddenly the string will snap and it might hit you in the face, and that's really dangerous. You don't want to do that. So just make sure that you have the proper peg, take your time, and really listen for it. Now, the way to start tuning, you already have your diagram of what notes are supposed to be what. You start off either by using a pitch pipe, get a note off a pitch pipe, or get a note off of a tuning fork, or a piano. If you have a piano in the house that's in good tune, get a note off the piano. Or you can use one of these electronic tuners. I happen to have this one. It's a Boss Chromatic Tuner TU12, and you know, you could find one of these and find out how they work. Some of them generate a tone, this one doesn't, but all it does is when you hit, you can set it on top of your instrument, and when you strike a note, this little dial will tell you whether you're sharp or flat. Anyway, these are great for anybody who plays a multiple string instrument like the dulcimer. So anyway, you start off by getting your D. Let's say D. The hammer dulcimer has so many Ds. So always get like a D or an A. Here's your D, and here's your A. So let's say I've already tuned those completely, making sure if I have a chromatic tuner, I can really tell if they're spot on you know, both these notes. Then I can go up an octave and listen to see if that note is in tune with my bottom note. Now this is all ear training. Let's say it's out. Tune it up. But then check on the other side to make sure that it's right on both sides. Now, a good way of testing, you know, if you're finding that, you know, you get it in tune on one side of the bridge and it's not in tune on the other side, you can press down on your strings on either side, because sometimes they can get hung up on this little rod that's on the bridge here. Anyway, so press down on your strings and then test it again. So anyway, you've now tuned these two Ds together. Now look on your chart. Where else do you have a D? If you have a low D, tune the low D down on the right bass bridge. You also have another D on the right bridge. Well, now they sound kind of out, don't they? you'll notice that you have tuned a D, a high D here. When you go back across the bridge, what is that note on the other side? It's G. Well, so now you have a G. So now you can find all your Gs, etc. This is called cross-tuning, and literally all around the instrument you'll find notes that are the same, and that's really the best way to tune by ear. If you look at your bass bridge, if you have the low D that I have, you put, your, let's say, right index finger on that D and put your other index finger on the D on your left bridge, you have an octave there. Go up a step, another octave, all the way up. So here are more octaves for you. Remember, the last octaves were on the left bridge, taking your note, going up 4, and then across. So anyway, that is really how to tune, and if you get completely and utterly frustrated, get yourself a chromatic tuner and go from there. Now I'm going to talk about hammers. There are a lot of different kind of hammers that you can find depending on who makes the instrument and who makes the hammers, and I highly suggest that you find a lot of different kinds of ones and experiment with them, because it took me a while to find a pair that I really felt comfortable with. Here I have a standard pair of hammers. In fact, yours may look like this. They're just wooden hammers that are curved at the end, and some people get a couple different pairs of these, and they keep, one pair with the wood, and then another pair they'll put felt on the bottom, or leather, or rubber bands, or whatever you want to get a different tone. You can get a softer tone or a harsher tone, depending on what you do. Now, these are the hammers that I really like to play with because they're round on the end, and as you can see, I can get a wood tone on the one side, or on the other side I have a softer tone because there's leather on it. And in the course of playing one tune, I can actually flip these hammers and get different tones. So anyway, I'm going to start now and show you exactly how you should hold the hammers, because that's sort of basic. You don't want to be gripping these. That's a main problem with a lot of people that are starting out, is they're holding them too tight, and then you can't get any bounce and any control. So make sure that they're really, really light in your hands, and you're going to be doing a lot of the control with your thumbs, a lot of the bounce control. Now you want to strike the string really crisp and clean. You don't want to bounce when you don't want to. Later on you will want to bounce once in a while for an effect, but first off, try starting just with each hand, striking as crisply and cleanly as you possibly can. And in fact, you might just want to do it like on those 4 notes. Now, a very important thing with striking with your hammers is you don't want to ever let the hammer die on the string like this, because that sounds really terrible. So always make sure that it bounces back up. I'm going to show you the D scale, which you may recall earlier from the tuning lesson. Starting on your D, I want you to start with your right hand and make sure that your shoulders are loose and you're not stiff and you're having a good time. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go across the bridge and play those same notes, but on the other side of the bridge. Then, do the same thing coming back down. that is the D major scale. And again, I'll point out that that scale is between these two marked parts on your bridge. Now, here's another pattern. The hammer dulcimer is an instrument of patterns, very visual ones at that. You go up to the G, and you have the exact same pattern for a G major scale. And again, if you go up to the C, which is marked, in between those two markings you have a C major scale. Now on my instrument, which has an extended range, at the very bottom here, below the D, I have another major scale, which is A, and I'll play that for you. This is way at the bottom here. So now, if you'll look over at the bass bridge, you'll notice you have markings. I hope they're like mine because that's my point of reference. In between these two markings and these two over here, you'll have another major scale. That's, again, another D major scale. And over here, another G. And on with all of the other markings. So that right there you can find very obvious major scales on this instrument. Now what I want you to practice, and we'll just do this in D because D is right in the middle of your instrument and it's easy. I want you to practice playing that scale from the bottom to the top like I've been doing, and then play it. Keep playing it faster and faster just to see what it feels like to get up a rhythm of going right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. So I'll play it slowly first. Now speed it up. And even more. You should practice this on all of the scales, really, because it'll familiarize yourself with playing high and low and to the right, etc. Now, the next thing I want you to practice, and this is also for getting a good right, left pattern and loosening yourself and holding those sticks really loosely, is I want you to hit each note twice. And you can start out using right, left, or you can go left, right. Practice it both ways, but each note you're going to go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And then speed it up. Try it up on G as well. And as you practice this, make sure that one of your hands isn't bouncing or dying or sounding stupid, because this is the only way you're going to develop a rapid, clean style. It's a lot like drumming, except that you don't want your hands to be flying really high. You want to keep those sticks down close to the notes, because the closer they are, the faster you can get to them. So notice that I'm not playing like this. I'm playing real close. And when you cross the bridge, once in a while you can hit the bridge, and that's one of those things that's bound to happen with hammer dulcimer playing, but try not to. All right, now you know about scales, and the next thing to learn about with this particular instrument is what you can do with the instrument, and that is basically, besides playing a single note at a time, you can play a chord, which is like 2 notes at a time, or you can play an arpeggio, which is a broken chord. If you're familiar with piano, you might know that you have 10 fingers to play all these different notes with. Well, with this instrument, which is basically an ancestor of the piano, all you've got is your 2 little hammers to go on, so you've got to make it sound as full as possible when you want a whole chord sound. So, looking back at the dulcimer here, at the D scale, which was here, the D major chord is, now any of these notes, the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th in the octave, can be part of this D major arpeggio. So you can either play like this, or this, or this, this. All of these are chords in the D major arpeggio, etc. Now, a full-on arpeggio sounds something like this, or like this, or like this, almost. And the best way to practice an arpeggio is to find, you know, you're supposed to be memorizing now where all these different notes are that are in your arpeggio. Find them, like for instance right here. Play it slowly at first, and then try to speed it up a little. Etc. Now, the hammer dulcimer can't do a lot of the things that fiddles and, well, other instruments can do, where they can bend notes. You can't bend notes. So really what you've got to play with is arpeggios and chords and single notes, and occasionally you might want to throw in a, how do I call this, a grace note. And the only way really to play a roll or a grace note is by bouncing one or the other hammer, or both together, like that. Now when you do this roll, again, you don't want these hammers to die on the string because it sounds silly, you know. So what you might do to practice doing a roll is very lightly, just see if you can even control how many times you come down, like 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject. The subject is chords and arpeggios. So find within, let's say, the D scale, find all the chords, and then put them together into arpeggios. Remember that you can find any chord on this instrument by finding one particular note, call it 1, and then count up and find the 3rd and the 5th up from that 1, and that is either a major or a minor chord. And I thoroughly encourage you to experiment and find as many chords as you possibly can on this instrument and play them as chords and play them as arpeggios. I'm going to teach you, first off, a really simple tune. It's probably the first tune I ever learned. And it's a fiddle tune called The Humours of Tulla, an Irish fiddle tune. And the reason I'm teaching this particular tune is because it's in D. It's, you know, the key that I've already yacked about a whole lot. And it also is going to use this right, left, right, left, right, left style that I really want you to get familiar with, because, again, that's the way to best familiarize yourself with this instrument. I will first play the tune for you up to tempo and the way I like to play it, and then I'll stop and I'll play it really slowly. Now, slowly. Then back to the beginning. Now what I'm going to do is play this tune again, divided up into parts. It has an A part and it has a B part. And I'm going to play it, I'm going to try to play it even slower, although for some reason it's really hard for me to play this really slow. So I'll start off with the A part of the tune, then I'll pause and I'll tell you when the B part starts. This is the A part. Now comes the B part. And then back to the beginning. Now, if you're ever having any trouble learning a tune by ear, what you should really try to do is sing it out loud. It's really the only way to do it, because then you can see if you're hearing it right. If you're just watching for patterns, you're not always going to be able to do that, you know. So watch for the patterns, yes, but sing it in your head or sing it out loud. Well, any tune is going to be quite boring if it isn't embellished, or somehow the person who's playing it has to make it their own tune. And embellishments are how you do that. And now that I've played this tune for you in very robot style and very slow, I'm going to try to explain what it was I was doing when I played it first for you, when I was playing up to tempo. And aside from playing it at a dance tempo. It is in fact a reel, which is a very rapid, bouncy dance. I was throwing in chords in the D major arpeggio again. I was just throwing in random chords, and I was throwing in an occasional roll that I already showed you. And I can't remember whether I threw in arpeggios, but anyway, I'll try to break this down. In the A part, I also played it a little bouncier. You don't even have to like bounce twice on every note like I did. Like I started off going. Well, now I would play it like this. Like that. So you can see the difference. I'm not hitting every note twice, but my hands are still thinking right, left, right, because anytime I want to come down with that pattern, the hands are thinking that. So from the beginning, let's see. I'll try to play it a little bit slowly with the embellishments. Now that was just a chord going down to a low D on the right bridge. The reason I don't do it down here is because it's harder to go down. So anyway, now there I rolled. That was just something that sounded good to me. Actually, when you are doing ornaments, especially on traditional dance tunes like Irish dance tunes and French dance tunes and all this kind of thing, you should really listen to how fiddlers and bagpipers and people like that play, because where they put in an ornament is obviously where it's going to be good for you to put in a roll or something on the hammer dulcimer. So getting back to the A part. Now in the B part, I'm rolling in the middle there. And I'm actually rolling mostly on my right hammer. The left hammer just sort of stays there and keeps rhythm. Those were just chords in the arpeggio. And I'm just basically playing the melody. The melody goes, and I'm going. There you have it. What you should do is practice playing it first really slowly, then play it more and more up to tempo, then give it a little lilt, put in a few chords, or try to imitate exactly what I did, but ultimately you should play what you feel is good. Now, I'm going to go on. That was a reel, which is an even rhythm, and it's all right, left pattern. Another good right, left pattern is jigs. That's another dance form. But it's in 6 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I want you to do now is go back to your D scale, and remember I showed you how to just play the scale, playing each note twice. Now what I want you to do in preparation for learning a jig is to play each note 3 times. So starting on your right hammer, you're going to go on one string, right, left, right, and then moving up the next string, left, right, left, and on and on. Right, left, right, left, over to the next side of the bridge. Okay, now that you understand what you're doing, I want you to keep the rhythm absolutely even. So listen to me and I'll try to do it very slowly. Again, once you have gotten the hang of that, and it might be sort of hard at first because you're having to accent the first and the fourth beat of each measure of 6. So you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So listen to how I play this again, and I'll play it a little bit faster. So practice doing that on a whole lot of these different scales. Practice it on the G and practice it on the C. Practice it on your bass bridge. In fact, any of these, what should I call them? Any of these little exercises could be practiced starting at the bottom of your bass bridge all the way to the top and then go all the way down the treble bridge. I mean, because this will really familiarize you with your instrument, starting here like this. Etc. And then all the way down. So, you know, you might drive your family crazy doing this, but it does familiarize you with the instrument. Anyway, that is the jig pattern, and it's always right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. All right, this is a Scottish jig called a scherzo tatties, or in English, not enough potatoes. Again, I'm going to play this for you first up to tempo, and then I will play it all slowed down for you so that you can get it robot style. A scherzo tatties. Okay. Oh, I might point out that this is in the key of A minor. Your scale, if you look at your dulcimer, you have your G here. You go one up from that, and that's an A. So the scale for this is here. Okay, so now I will play it slowly, or I will attempt to play it slowly. I'm going to start with the A part of this tune, and then I'll play the B part. And like the last tune, I'd like to point out that a lot of these Irish and Scottish dance tunes have an A part and a B part and sometimes a C part, and they're usually repeated twice. So you'll play the A part twice, the B part twice, etc. So I'm going to play the A part for you now, and I'm going to do it slowly. Repeat. B part. Repeat. Don't forget, as you're playing this, as you're learning it, keep repeating the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in your mind, always accenting the 1 and the 4. The tune does start on the 1. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to learn a French dance tune called Michel's Mazurka. It's in the key of G, and it has a waltzy tempo to it. So when you learn it, think in terms of waltz tempo. And I'm going to play it first through up to tempo and everything, and then again I'll play it for you real slow so you can get it. So, Michel's Mazurka. Okay, now for the slow version. A part. B part. So what you might want to do with this tune is first learn the melody, obviously, and then experiment with your chords and arpeggios. This one is a great one for doing arpeggios because you have a real obvious arpeggio at the beginning. And then you can hit lots of chords. So all of those chords are chords within the G major scale, in the G major arpeggio, which I've told you to find earlier on your instrument. At the very beginning of this video lesson, I was playing a tune, which is a classical sounding Irish tune called Carolyn's Draft. It's a tune written by the famous Irish blind harper O'Carolan. And I'm going to play it for you now, just the melody, really slow, and I'm hoping that by listening to how I played at the beginning with the embellishments and learning the melody, maybe you can go off on your own and work out some of your own embellishments. And I'd like to also point out with this tune that a lot of the music that has been written for harp is great. It translates really well to the hammer dulcimer. Anyway, so here we go with Carolyn's Draft, which is in the key of D. You could also play it in the key of G. I've heard it played in the key of G. Now I'd like to point out that I was just noticing as I was playing this that I played a part towards the very end down on this extended range part of my instrument. That, if you don't have those notes, can be played over on the bass bridge by starting here. I'm going to leave you now with a tune, another tune by O'Carolan, and it's called Shebeg Shemore. It's one of the more popular harp tunes and very popular as well on the hammer dulcimer. So have fun.